can't say I'm totally satisfied. So here we go. The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live finale. Season finale, episode 6, The Last Time. This is it. We are wrapping up the season here of the return of Rick Grimes and Michonne. They're both back, and we're going to finally go back, destroy Jadis's information that she left behind in her apartment, and, I don't know, get away and take down the CRM and let the Civic Republic themselves, the city, know what the CRM does and what they do, and, you know, save the world, and then head back home. That's the big plan. So they're going to go back to the CRM. So we get little flashbacks with Michonne and Rick before they went back to the CRM. Then we got some shots of them going to Jadis's helicopter, where they're about to head back and kind of return to one of their bases and kind of walk up to one of the gates. We see Rick walk up to one of the gates with a bunch of the soldiers. This is like one of those shots we saw in the trailer of the soldiers with like the red on them and everything. I think they look really cool. We don't really like, this is generally the main soldier we see in this show specifically, and I don't know, I think they look pretty cool. But we got to see that shot, and Rick is back. He's in the CRM. Michonne is kind of back as well. She kind of sneaks around in this episode, but Rick is back. He makes his return, and he immediately reunites with Thorne. So Thorne is happy that Rick is back. You know, she's glad to see him back, and immediately she starts to tell him that, like, okay, you're back, you made it, you made your way back here. Let's get into this thing. You know, let's start to change the CRM. Let's start to make the CRM a great force in this world. And I said like 2 episodes ago when she was, you know, aiming her weapon at Michonne. I don't know why I said that. I thought, oh, Thorne's not really going to be an issue. That was a misjudgment on my part for sure. I don't know why I thought that, but Thorne is certainly going to be a problem in this episode specifically too. Thorne is going to be a problem. So she's turning away from what Okafor wanted for Rick and her, and what he wanted for the CRM. She's completely turning against that, really, and she's like, enough of his bullshit. Let's get into this and do it our own way. We can make the world better. And it seems like she's really buying into all the CRM shit now, and she's a problem now. So Michonne's big task for this episode is to get inside the CRM, you know, undercover. I believe she's undercover. She's not really supposed to be there, I think. And she's there to basically get Jadis's information on Alexandria, because they want to destroy it so they can get out of there and get home without them knowing about Alexandria. The thing is, I still think the CRM knows about Alexandria. I don't know how they wouldn't, but that's another whole thing. But right now the goal is to get into her apartment and find the information. So as she's doing that, Rick and Thorne go out to meet with Major General Beale, and that is where we get that scene with him killing some walkers from the trailer. So it's like the final few bits of the trailer that we have not seen yet. Now we are getting it in this episode. So he meets with Major General Beale, and this is the beginning process here of him getting the echelon briefing from him. So this is it. Rick is going to finally be moving up. He's going to be in good with Major General Beale, and this was the whole thing of him becoming big part of the CRM and gaining Major General Beale's trust. So as Michonne is going through Jadis's apartment, you can see all the different paintings and art that she's been doing as she's been living there. You can see paintings of Gabriel. You see one of Major General Beale there in this shot, but you got a few of Gabriel. And then Michonne ultimately finds the information on Alexandria, the big letter and everything, inside this like metal cat thing. And you can see there, she pulls out the thing. It's all this information on Rick and Michonne and Alexandria. So Michonne tears up the information. And as she's trying to escape, she ends up running into a soldier and she kills the soldier. So we are now in the moment. Like, this is happening. There's no going back now in any moment, anyway. We have now killed some soldiers and we got to get the hell out of there. So Michonne now has to get out before anything is necessarily discovered, while Rick is getting the briefing. So we get a lot of information from Major General Beale, but it all comes down to him basically just spilling everything to Rick, which is really interesting because I suppose it has been like 6 years he's been there, and I suppose there's probably a lot of different times that you can assume that they've interacted before that we haven't seen, but it feels very strange for him to give Rick all this information, because it feels like they almost have hardly ever spoken to each other, and now he's giving Rick all this information. But I suppose if you want to consider Rick has been there a while now, and this is why he's slowly gained the trust of Beale, then okay, maybe then that makes sense. So while Michonne is trying to basically get out of the facility, she starts to overhear that there's a big meeting going on, and all the soldiers are going to be in the room, and they're going to be learning about different plans and what their next plan is and what they're going to go do. So she enters this room, and there is this whole map of, I believe, Portland. This whole big map of Portland, and there's this big massive plan from the CRM to destroy Portland as well. They destroyed Omaha, the campus colony that they mentioned, and that happened in World Beyond. The next plan is to take out Portland. The CRM, like the military faction of the CRM, the military is planning to completely take over everything. And that's literally basically the goal of the CRM, is to just pick out a few kids from the Portland area, get them out of the area, evacuate them, and then literally wipe out Portland. That is the next goal. So I'm assuming that's probably exactly what happened with Omaha as well, and they're just going to go ahead and do it again and gas the whole place up and kill them all. So as Beale is going over the whole plans with Rick, he starts to show them that these walkers are just everywhere. There's tons of walkers, massive hordes everywhere, and he's starting to show like this world that we're in is just, it's a messed up world. There's so much disease out there, and us humans, we've only got so much longer to live unless we deal with them, and we go about my way of how to go about the world. And if we start taking out communities and all this weird stuff, it's like, this is so, it's very basic, really. It's not too complicated to necessarily understand. The CRM wants total control over the future of the world. That's it. So this they want to be the most important military in the world, and go about making the future theirs. So he comes up with this whole thing of the world is sick, there's disease everywhere, and it's only going to fester and get worse if we don't go ahead and go about my plan. And if we don't take over the world with the CRM, then the world's just going to fall apart and everything's going to go to hell more than it already has. So he flat out goes into a spiel to Rick about how the CRM, they wipe out communities. We're wiping out communities that we see, that we know of, and we're going to basically reset everything. We're going to reset the world. We're going to burn it all and let it grow again. And that's kind of been a common phrase and saying throughout this show. We're going to burn it all down and let it come back again. And that's kind of the essence of what he's telling Rick, is like, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. I've been in charge now of the CRM this whole time, and I feel like this is the way we need to go. And he flat out tells Rick all of this, which is just, it felt kind of strange. Like, he didn't hold back any information still, a little hesitant or whatnot. He flat out tells Rick everything. And then he tells him about Portland. So he tells him about Omaha, they destroyed it, and the campus colony, and then he tells him, we will also destroy Portland. And meanwhile, Rick is, he's not actually there to join the CRM and stuff like that. He's there to accomplish his mission with Michonne. So on the side, you can see him pulling out his knife slowly, like, what is he going to do? What is he going to do? So he continues to go on a spiel about, we will further eliminate any growing competition. He doesn't want competition in the world, and he wants the CRM to be the top dog in the world. And as I mentioned, he mentions, we will burn things to bring things back. And then he pulls out his sword that he's been carrying around. He mentioned it earlier in the earlier episodes. He told the whole story about it, but he literally wants Rick, he pushes the sword forward, and it's like, I want you to swear by the sword. You are part of the CRM now. You want to go for this cause and live your life for this cause now. And this is basically the point where the episode goes off the rails for me a little bit. And then a lot of it. So Rick is given the choice, and we know he's not going to, even if he does, even if he did, it's okay, he's not actually going to go with Major General Beale, and eventually he's going to get out with Michonne, or try to in some way. But Major General Beale, for a moment, he hesitates there, and he realizes, yeah, Rick is not here to join him. So we got a quick glimpse of Beale panicking, and we jump into a fight scene. So Rick jumps over the table, throws his knife into Major General Beale's shoulder. They fight a little bit, and dude, Rick kills him. Major General Beale is dead. And I don't know how to feel about it. I thought we were going to see a lot more of him, and at least I hoped we would. I thought it was a good actor choice for the role as well. I just thought it worked perfectly, and the real threat of the show generally just felt like Jadis. Jadis would probably be listed as the top villain, I would say, because he was hardly in this show, and now he's dead. So I don't know how this man right here, he's got this top military force in the world, and we're supposed to be fearful of this man and what he has created and what he's in charge of and everything. Like, I think Negan and the Saviors did more damage to Rick and the people he loves and whatnot than this guy has ever done. Now, if you want to say, oh, but he's kept Rick for 6 years, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know, I get that. But we haven't seen it, it just doesn't feel like it has. And now this guy, we've hardly seen him, and he's just dead right away. Hardly put up a fight. He let Rick in there with a weapon right in front of him, and he's dead. It's just baffling to me. It really is. And when I see this, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we were going to see a lot more of the CRM going forward. What is this going to mean now? That they killed the leader of the CRM. What's going on? So Rick, he contacts Thorne. He says, all right, I've had my echelon briefing. I'm going to go meet up with you real quick. Beale, he's going to go go into the woods and get ready for the big announcement and whatnot, the whole meeting with the CRM itself. But in reality, Beale is now dead. So that's a thing. So we cut to a really weird and awkward scene with Rick in an elevator with a random soldier guy. And Rick wheels in this big cart. And inside the cart is something very, very familiar, which I will get to in a moment. But Michonne, she does complete her mission. She destroys the information from Jadis's office, and she runs out, almost decides to leave like she was initially planning on. But now she has learned of this vital information that Portland and other communities are going to be completely wiped out by the CRM, and she feels the need. She needs to do something. And of course, she runs back. So we cut back to Rick in the elevator, and you can see some blood dripping from Rick's little cart here with something stuffed inside of it, and it's Major General Beale. So he stuffed his body into this cart, and he's wheeling it out. So that's definitely weird, but it starts to drip blood, and it's a little suspicious, and we get that really awkward scene until the elevator opens, and then Rick and this guard fight for a moment. Rick starts punching his face into the ground, and he kills the guard. So Rick kills a guard very brutally, by the way. He smashes his face in, and he's dead. So they got another dead soldier now lying around. And just as he's about to run off, and someone comes down the elevator, and there is Michonne. So she talks to Rick a little bit about the whole plan of Portland, and they've come to this conclusion that, yeah, we need to stay here, and we need to stop them before we go back home. So that's what they're going to do. So we are halfway through the episode maybe, and they just got back there. Everything, the CRM was running fine, really. Halfway through, we're taking them down. We're taking down the CRM. And it's just this. I expected this to take a lot longer. We've built up the CRM for years and years and years. From that moment Rick saw the helicopter during the All Out War, Season 8 of Walking Dead. That was a while ago. And you're telling me this is where it's going to start falling apart already? After 6 episodes, and just out of nowhere in this last episode? Whatever. Anyways, Thorne, she doesn't meet up with Rick. She notices Rick does not show up. Rick doesn't show up. She's like, oh shit. What is Rick doing? So Thorne, as I said, she is becoming a problem. I thought she maybe wouldn't, but she is. So we get one more scene with Rick and Michonne in the room gathering their supplies, getting ready to make some sort of plan and attack for the CRM. And we got a scene with Rick. I mean, and some of these scenes are cool. Andrew Lincoln's a great actor. Cool to see his emotional scenes with him. And he's talking about all the time he missed with his kids. He missed his kids growing up, and he wants to go home. But they need to do this. They need to do this. They need to stop the CRM. And that is kind of their big thing in this episode, and that's really it. So a little bit later, we do get to see Thorne run into the same room that Rick and Michonne were in, and he left his like little prosthetic hand thing behind, and we get the scene of her, like her face zooming in. It's like she is like, it's like her turning into the villain moment, where she's realizing that like Rick is not here for good intentions. She kind of brings herself to that realization, and you could see that villain turn in her. So the CRM military is gathering into one place on this one military base of theirs. Thorne is kind of wandering around trying to figure some stuff out. Like, what's really going to happen here? What's going on? And where is Rick Grimes? She looks out the window. You could see all the military, just one spot, one perfect spot. All lined up and ready for this big announcement, this big ceremony, whatever, from Major General Beale. So Rick and Michonne, they enter the tent, which we did see here with the soldiers right behind them. They enter the tent. They have a plan. They're going to light up a bunch of explosives and grenades. They're going to line them up against all this gas. This gas is in this tent that is set to go to Portland. So they're going to blow up all the gas. And if you blow up all the gas, which is right behind all the soldiers, you can see where this is going to go. So Rick and Michonne, they set that up. They get that all set up and planted. Thorne I think she kind of puts the pieces together, and she's like, okay, now I see what's going on. Rick and Michonne, they pull out the Walker zombified version of Major General Beale. What a wasted character, by the way. I am upset that that's it for him. I just think we could have gotten so much more with him, and it just sucks that this is it for him. But Rick and Michonne, they do link up him and the other guard that Rick killed as walkers. They've both been they come back alive, and they link them up to these big wires that are all linked up to the grenades, which their whole plan is to have Major General Beale's walker and the other walker walk like both ends or both out, and they pull the line as Rick and Michonne leave, and they set off all the grenades at once. So that's the big plan. It seems a little over the top, but that's the plan. And as they're walking out of the tent, literally having their plan in motion, Thorne confronts Rick and Michonne, and she is a problem. So she confronts Rick and Michonne. She's kind of figured it out now that Michonne is the one, it's Rick's person, and she confronts them, makes them turn around and go back in to undo what they've done, but they can't undo it. They've already set it in motion, and they stall for a moment, and then they run to the side while the explosion goes off. Major General Beale, zombie, walks out and explodes, and you would think that everyone is going to die. So that is the last time you do see Major General Beale in any form. He literally blows up. Meanwhile, all the gas blows up as well, and there's a major explosion. Basically, all the CRM soldiers are wiped out in one go. So they've all gathered in one place, all the major top soldiers and officers and whatnot for the Civic Republic military, and they've all been eliminated in one go. Just like that. So they're dead now. We cut to the next scene where there's green gas going everywhere. Of course, we've seen this before. All the soldiers are dead. Rick and Michonne hid under like a tarp thing with some water or whatnot dripping all over them. It kind of kept them away from the gas. Of course, they're going to live. So they step out from the gas. They see Thorne lived because why? I don't know how she lived. She somehow managed to get away from the explosion and also find a gas mask in an instant, and then go back after chasing Rick and Michonne and fighting them some more. She confronts Rick. They fight a little bit. Michonne kills Thorne, or stabs Thorne. They fight a little bit. Michonne stabs Thorne. I think she dies. Her mask is off a little later too, but Michonne has killed Thorne. I don't think we'll be seeing Thorne again. And Rick and Michonne, they escape. Rick kills some walkers real quick. They made it look like he died for a moment, but he really didn't. Kill some walkers. They jump up on top of a container. Thorne is left behind, presumably dead. So that's it for Thorne. Like, she's just dead now too. And the CRM military has been eliminated. Just like that. And then we cut to this whole ending thing. There's a person on the speaker, like the radio, talking to the Civic Republic. It's like city. And it's like the news almost, the news radio going over, talking about the whole plan of what happened with the CRM and how Major General Beale is gone and dead. And there was this big operation. And now the CRM is going to do better for the world. And it says a historic day has begun on a new chapter for the Republic. It's so, like, that's it? So the CRM storyline that we've been building up for so damn long, all these little teases throughout all the different shows, you know, you build it up to be something so grand, right? I thought this would be the beginning of it, the beginning of finally seeing it. We're jumping into the story finally. 6 episodes later, and like probably midway through that episode, that final episode, they just get wiped out in an instant. I'm a little disappointed with that. I wanted a lot more. I really, really did. And I know I think some people are really going to love this episode just because of the last scene, which I'll get to. But man, I wanted a lot more with the CRM. My idea was that the CRM would, even if Rick and Michonne's story finished, even if that happened, the CRM would go on, and that is a threat that is going to be over, like, looming over all of the Walking Dead shows, and they're going to be out there. You know, they're going to be out there looming, and that's a threat that you're going to run into from time to time, and eventually it's going to come together, and maybe they'll all deal with them, all of our big main characters. You know, they'll come together and fight them, you know, like some freaking superhero movie. I don't know, but it didn't have to happen that way either. Maybe another season of just doing a little more with the Civic Republic military. It just felt, they didn't feel as threatening as something like the Saviors. The Saviors, man, this freaking little group of thugs with Negan felt more threatening and ominous than the CRM ever did. And I don't think it should have been that way. But it is what it is. That's what happened. So there's this big city out there of the Civic Republic now changing their ways. And it's the military portion of it there that was causing all these problems is just done. So Rick and Michonne, they fly out on this helicopter. They fly back home. And that's where we pick up on the scene, which I do like the scene. I do like the scene. I'm not going to say I don't. We see someone sitting on some steps with Rick's gun. See a walkie, and it says Michonne, saying Shoto. And that is Judith's, like, code name from Michonne. That's what she's been saying through the season as she's trying to contact Judith. We see Rick and Michonne land in a field, and the reunion begins. So we see Judith and RJ, both the same actors, of course, running out from probably Alexandria, because they're not going to show it now, because I think they've, like, literally taken the set down for the Alexandria, so they're not going to show it anymore. But nonetheless, Judith and RJ run out, and they reunite with Michonne, which is very, very cool. Like, I do like to see that. I do like Judith's actor too. It's cool to see her back, and she's like grown up almost through this show now, because when we first saw her after Rick's last episode, you know, as the grown up Judith, you know, even now she's like much older than she was when she first started in this. So, and this is the first time that her and, you know, Andrew Lincoln have actually been on screen together. We've seen Judith and Rick, obviously the characters together before he disappeared, but this is the first time we've seen these two actors together in these characters, and I think it's really, really cool. I think the scene between her and him is a lot better than RJ in a moment. So we get the reunion with Judith and Rick, and I think it is freaking awesome. I do. And I think it's going to be a good conclusion for a lot of people for these characters in general, because we always wondered, when is Rick getting home and when is he going to reunite with his freaking kids? And now it has happened. So I am happy with that. I'm not happy with the story that got us to that point at the end there. I liked most of the season, but this episode particularly, I did not enjoy how we got to this point. But I do like the ending scene. I really do. So I love it. I think it's great. It's great to see all these characters together. Then Rick is reunited, or not reunited, he's introduced to his son, RJ. And, I mean, it's a kid actor, whatever. There's not really much coming from the kid. It's pretty stale, I would say. But, whatever. He didn't have a big role in the main show to begin with. So it is what it is. But they got the same kid. He reunites with his son, or sees his son for the first time. And, they're a happy family together. And that is great. I'm glad to see that. And that's how the episode ends. So that's how it ends. And I will say it ended on a great note. We technically can see Rick again. We can see him again. Like, he's not dead. Nobody died. People died, but not the ones that we want to see live. Rick and Michonne are fine. They made it back home, and everything's great. It really is. But now this puts into perspective of, I'm just thinking of the grander universe that they're trying to do now. And we now know that Rick is most likely the one that Carol was talking about in Daryl Dixon, who came home, because I'm just going to think that it just links together. It works that Carol knew now, if Carol's still around at this point, before she went to go find Daryl, that Carol was talking about Rick. And maybe we'll get that reveal to Daryl in the next season of Daryl Dixon, which is coming this summer. Maybe we'll get that reveal, but I do think she was talking about Rick now. I thought maybe it would be Morgan. But here's the thing. I don't know where the story goes now. I'm lost. Rick and Michonne being home is great. I always wanted to see it. This is not the only reunion I wanted to see. I want to see him reunite with Daryl. I want to see him reunite with Carol. I want to see him reunite with everybody. Maybe we just won't see it. Maybe this is the end of Rick's character and Michonne. Both these actors left the show because they wanted to do other things. But eventually they came back and they did this show to conclude their stories. So maybe that's exactly what they're doing. And maybe this is it for Rick and Michonne, and it ends on a happy-ish note. And this is just what we're going to get. And if that's what it is, it's more satisfying than Rick vanishing and they almost never tell the story. So in that case, fine. I think it's fine. But there's still more they can do. We could still see Rick again. I hope we do. But now I don't know where the story goes. I don't know what the future stories are going to look like. I mean, I thought the CRM could be the big bad. It's not going to be now. Maybe the Civic Republic can still be a big part of the future shows going forward anyways. And because it's a big city out there that, they could go and, live in and whatnot. I mean, they do have the Commonwealth as well, but this is a different scale now out there. It's a big, massive city, group of people out there that, people could go live in. So maybe they could start to build the world back. And I don't know what you could tell a story with. I don't know what kind of story you could tell with that. But right now, everything is kind of just wrapped up. And I'm just not happy with how fast it was. It was incredibly fast. So we're going to have to wait and see what they tell us in the coming weeks and months and whatever. What the future kind of looks like. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of an insight once Daryl Dixon starts back up. And we'll kind of see where the plan is now. Because Carol's going after Daryl. We know she's going to end up in freaking France. I don't know how that's going to happen with her either. So she's going to end up in France and go after Daryl, and maybe it'll make it clear of what the future is really going to look like here with The Walking Dead. I don't know how much more they got planned for The Walking Dead at this point. I mean, Rick Grimes is the big reason a lot of people are sticking around. I think it's a big reason why I've been sticking around so long in all of these different shows, is because I wanted to know what happened with him. I know he's still out there somewhere, and now he's home. So when are we going to get back home now? When is Daryl going to get back home? When is Maggie going to get there? I want to see Maggie reunite with Rick too. Negan. I want to see Rick and Negan meet again. I want to see Rick's face when he sees Negan's out doing his own shit. But that's another story now in Dead City that is also, been created and now it's unresolved. We got to see the return of Dead City as well. So are these just kind of small little spin-off stories that really aren't, it's just what they're going to be and that's it? Maybe. I don't know at this point. But that's my grand thinking of everything. This show in particular, I think it started out great. It had some really great episodes through the season. I love the ending scene. I think it's really awesome. I just don't like how quick it ended in this last episode. And that is my big gripe, is just how everyone died in the CRM. Major General Beale was a wasted character. We could have seen so much more with him. And they ended the CRM. I just don't like how quickly that ended. So that is the end of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. I do not think we will be getting any more seasons of this show. Everyone's been wondering. I think it's done. I think this story is done. We can't see Rick again. That is, if they're willing to. We await to see the future of The Walking Dead and this character. Well, all these characters, really. So this show ends. Daryl Dixon Season 2 is next, with Carol coming back, so that's cool. I am looking forward to that. And Dead City, man, I don't know when that's coming back. They got to still film it and stuff, I think. But that got held up with the strikes and stuff. But Daryl Dixon's coming back, and maybe we'll get a little bit more insight of what's going to come with the future of all this. But overall, I really liked the show. I just wish it would have ended a little more grander with the grand overall story of The Walking Dead. But I do love this final scene. The ending is great.